Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star?
Hello pilots, welcome back to Motion RC. I'm James, and in front of me we have Freewing's brand new T-33 Shooting Star 80mm EDF jet, the next big release to kick off 2020 for Freewing and Motion RC, and we're so excited to finally be able to show this to you, and so much more excited to see pilots get their hands on this beautiful baby and fly her around in the coming month or so when they reach warehouses. So in this video, guys, this is an overview video. We call it an unboxing and assembly, but basically we're going to go over the entire aircraft. We'll start with a full unboxing, show you how all the pieces come out of the box. Then we'll run down the spec, because this baby beauty has the brand new 80mm in-runner in it, which we started introducing in a few classic Freewing models like the A6, the F5, and the F86 over there, but this will be the first new model from Freewing that comes with that in-runner standard, which is beautiful. Then after we do the spec, we will go over a step-by-step assembly, so we'll just go by the book of how easy it is, guys. 14 screws get this baby together, and you'll be out at the field flying. And then after that, we'll come back to the studio, to the table. We'll do a quick walk around, I'll plug it in, and do some size comparisons, obviously to a jet of its era, like the F86 coming from Freewing, and I'll compare it especially to our other scale trainer, which we released last year, or a little longer than a year ago now, the L39 I have as well, because it's definitely comparable. But for all the guys who wanted a scale or a sport performing jet in a scale package that was more of an American scheme, the T-33 is it. Now, not only does the T-33 look gorgeous in the US Air Force scheme, as you see it on the table, but we also will have it in a German scheme. So you have the 57th Fighter Interceptor Squadron based in Iceland in the US Air Force scheme, and you have this gorgeous German livery that'll be available as well. So let me stop talking now, and let's get started with the unboxing. So now, guys, as you take it out of the box, you will notice, obviously, the packaging, same as you would expect to see from any Freewing model. Everything comes nicely packaged, and I'm always so impressed. It probably takes more work to create the box than it does to fit all the parts, than it does to actually create the model, because they fit it in there beautifully. But you see, pulling things out, you get your vertical stabilizer. You got your horizontal stabilizer, which is in one piece. That's just going to sit on the back. Very easy, again, to construct this model. You got a big one-piece wing. And as you'll notice, all the decals on this model are pre-applied. So much like the F86 and a few of our other Freewing models, this one comes already pre-schemed. You have your two wingtip tanks. They also give you a go-get-'em wire, because you will have to pull some of the servo leads from the rudder and the elevator into the fuselage, so you're going to want to use that. Your canopy is going to come out of there. And then you're going to get your baggie. That's going to have your 14 screws. It's going to have a few little scale detail bits like the pitot tube. And it's going to have your ribbon cables, because again, this plugs right into that MFCB board, which has been introduced in many Freewing models now, and that's how you're going to power on your flaps and ailerons, everything having to do with the wing. So again, guys, just looking at it, the fuselage comes out. It is one-piece fuselage. So there you go, guys. Clean finish out of the box. Nothing really to it. It's going to be a simple assembly. But now let's quickly run down the spec. So now the spec of this T-33, it is a 1350mm wingspan, or 53 inches. So it's a little wider than the L39, but it is 1200mm long, or about 47 inches, which is going to be just a little shorter than the L39. So it's a little shorter, stubbier, but longer wingspan, nice wing loading, perfect aircraft for a trainer. Now inside, I mentioned the in-runner. It is a 3658 1920 kV in-runner motor. That's going to be powered with a 100 amp ESC with a 5 amp BEC. The EDF is an 80mm 9-bladed fan, is housing that in-runner motor. You have 8 9-gram digital servos inside the aircraft, so that's 2 for the flaps, 2 for the ailerons. You have a nose steering servo, you have 1 rudder servo, and 2 elevator servos will get it done. The foam is EPO, as you'd expect, so very easy to paint over. A lot of guys like the L39 came with decals already applied, and guys painted right over that. So if you want to put this T-33 in the Thunderbird scheme or any other livery you wish, just paint right over those decals, guys, and it is going to look fantastic. Other scale features, you have robust landing gear. That is like what we used to call the upgraded gear for Freewing models back in the day, but it is now pretty much standard on most. But the mains are nice and robust. Trailing link suspension, aluminum. Should be no problem getting this bird off of grass or off of pavement, of course. And the only things you will need to get her in the air is going to be at least a 6-channel receiver. That's going to be for your throttle, your aileron, your elevator, your rudders, your landing gear, and your flaps. And the recommended battery size is anywhere from a 4,000 to a 6,000 milliamp battery. They will fit all of our Admirals 4,000 and 6,000s. I can't speak for other size batteries, but definitely the 4,000, the 5,000, the 6,000 from Admiral are going to fit in there beautifully. So there you go, guys. That'll do it for the spec. Now let's take you through a step-by-step build. So step 1 in the assembly is going to be installing your horizontal stabilizer. You see it here, it comes in one piece, and it's very hard to get this wrong, but there are 4 holes lined up in the fuselage that will account for the 4 holes in the horizontal stabilizer, and they will line up. But first things first, you're going to want to use that go-get-'em wire that comes with the model. You're going to untie the leads for the elevators, and you are going to slip the go-get-'em wire through the front of the fuselage to the back. Attach those leads, and you want to pull those through as you place the horizontal stabilizer into the fuselage. Now once you have that fitted snug, you're going to use 2 of the 10mm screws that you see here, and we're going to drive those in. The 2 in the back go first. You're not going to drive in the other 2 yet. That'll come in step 2 when you attach your vertical stabilizer. So for right now, drive in those 2 10mm screws. So now step 2 will be the install of the vertical stabilizer. And again, you see it here, it comes in one piece. Now that will slip right on top of the horizontal stabilizer. And this is where we're going to use the other 4 10mm screws. There would have only been 6 in the bag. So the baggie that has the 6 screws in it is going to be used for the entire tail assembly. So now you're going to drive in all 4 of those screws. So 2 into the front part of the fuselage, and then 2 on the sides that are going to connect the vertical stab near the rudder, 1 on each side, and those are those flush screws. So that'll finish off the tail assembly. Now let's attach the main wing. Very simple here, guys. You're going to use the 4 8mm screws. Anyone who's put together a Freewing model will pretty much know which screws are going to be for the main wing, but you can see them here. Now before you do attach the main wing, just make sure you attach your ribbon cables first. It'll be much easier to do this now than it will be to do it once the main wing is on. So just get those ribbon cables in, snake them through the fuselage, and then just rest the main wing right on top and drive in each one of those 4 screws, and you'll be all done with a majority of the assembly of this T-33. So now at this point in the assembly of this model, you will see there are only 4 screws left, and those are the longest ones, the 18mm screws, and they're going to be for the 2 wingtip tanks that go on the edge. And there's really no way to get this wrong. Each tip tank is molded to fit the side of the wing it goes on, so you could really see it in the outline. You're just going to slip that on and drive in 2 screws on each side, so 4 screws total, and you're going to be done with your wingtip tanks. So now at this point you have a mostly completed T-33. At this point though, you will have to install all your control rods and horns. Now you'll notice on the T-33 all the ball links are already installed, so it makes it even simpler than it already is. You just go by the book. They give you 7 control rods. There's going to be 2 for the flaps, 2 for the ailerons, 2 for the elevators, and 1 for the rudder. So just line those up by the book. use the holes that the book recommends in the servo, and then just get them all attached. And I always like to have my aircraft bound at this point before I install the control rods, because I want to make sure all of my servos are centered and ready to go, so I don't have to redo the process later. So now after the control rods are installed, you just have these two little plastic bits. One's the pitot tube. They come in the box. They're the only thing you're going to need glue for, and they both attach underneath the nose of the aircraft. The pitot tube goes in front of the landing gear, and the other one goes right behind the landing gear, and you'll see there's just a little tiny slit in the foam for you to place those in, and I just use a little bit of that Freewing foam tack or Beacon foam tack to get those on, and you guys will be all done with the build of your T-33. So there you have it, pilots. That'll do it for the unboxing, the spec, and the assembly step-by-step for this beautiful T-33 Shooting Star. So while I have it on the table, you can see just how gorgeous she truly is. Taking a look inside the cockpit, you guys are going to, again, have ample space, like I showed you, for anything from a 4,000 to a 6,000 milliamp battery. You can see there's more than enough space. And some of the beautiful features about the T-33, some of the things I think guys are going to appreciate, is they have molded, for you CG guys who never want to get it wrong, they actually molded a spot like they did on the AL-37. They molded the CG marks right in the back. So you're going to have no problem making sure your CG is correct on every flight, which is beautiful. But also in the book, they do show you that not only where to do the CG if you want to measure on your own, but they do also talk about your battery placement for a 5,000 milliamp battery, and they show 70 millimeters from the plate. So if you want to just make sure your CG is even more spot on, if you have the Admiral 5000 batteries, from the start of the battery tray to where your battery ends, that space there should be about 70 millimeters. So that's also a nice little addition to the model. Again, guys, the robust landing gear, as I hold it here, you can see you're going to have no problem. You got these beautiful aluminum trailing link suspension struts. So let's do a quick comparison size-wise to something that you guys will already know, which is the L-39. I have it down here. This is the camo version of the L-39. But again, similar style airframe, but you'll see, if I line up the noses, that the L-39 is about 6 inches or so longer than the T-33, but it is significantly shorter wingspan than the T-33. But obviously very similar, being that they have the wingtip tanks and whatnot. I'm gonna hold them up here side by side so you guys can just get a better idea of the size comparison. But again, very similar. So I'm excited that the T-33 feels lighter. They both have batteries in them right now, but the T-33 does feel like a lighter aircraft than the L-39, and the L-39 is already such a sweet flyer as is, that I think now with this new upgraded in-runner, the 1920 kV motor, that this baby is just going to scream when you get it in the air. And then comparing it to one of its brethren, an aircraft that I guess any of the pilots of the F-86 Sabre would have started in a T-33 before they jumped over to the baddest of the bad aircraft from the 40s and 50s. You could see the F-86, the T-33 is actually just, oh man, that scene's hard for me to see here, but it looks to be just about the same length, guys. It's going to be a tad shorter on the wingspan just because of those tip tanks. Will give the T-33 a little bit more of a wider wingspan, but man, don't they look good together? Two birds from the same era. And again, the F-86 now comes in a high performance version, which has that same 80 millimeter in-runner that the T-33 now has as well. Let me just get that back up there so she doesn't fall over on me. And what else can we do? Let's plug her in. One of the other nice features about the T-33, I like how they did the flaps. They got the scale split flaps the way the real T-33 would have been. Wait for our 6 beeps. Here we go. Turn her around. And you guys will see right here. 1, 2. There's your flaps. Now I didn't do any book. I just attached the control rods, so I didn't measure them yet. I will do that before I get out and fly it. But you can see half flaps full, looking really nice. I'm sure she's gonna land nice and slow and beautifully. Also, while I have her open, let's show you the landing gear. One thing about the landing gear, guys, there's no extra weight in here, no extra servos for the gear doors. They're all spring-loaded, like a lot of our aircrafts are nowadays, and they also have nice doors on them, so you can see that the bottom is nice and flush when that gear is closed. But the tires touch, and nice clean body on the bottom, looking good. And it does have that MCFB board, so it's going to give you that little bit of a delay, which I don't mind at all when it comes to landing gear. I'm not trying to deploy my gear seconds before I touch down. I'm usually doing it on my down leg, but the gear looks good. I think guys are going to be really excited. This is one of those jets that I think we've seen, one of the most requested jets we've seen through Hobby Squawk forums, on social media and such. And whenever I go to events, this is one that people always say, man, why don't you do a T-33? Well, here she is, guys. She looks stunning. I think all the people who want a scale trainer jet, rather that can perform like a sport jet, but obviously in a nice scale package, in an American scale package, the T-33 is going to be for you. So that'll do it for us guys here in the studio with the brand new T-33. Stay tuned to the website for more information. You got links to the product pages in the description of this video. You can join the conversation on Hobby Squawk, I'm sure, as pilots. That's the best thing about our customer family. As pilots start getting these, man, they provide so much information. So if you're just seeing this video now and you're interested in the T-33, I'm sure you'll be able to find all the information you could ever want on it throughout our forums. So again, guys, that'll do it for us here in the studio. Thank you so much for joining me. Any questions you have, leave them in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time at Motion RC.